First of all, I'd like to welcome you to our interaction section, Gas Hub and Gas Exchange, a facilitator or thread to the golden age of gas. I hope that today we will all present a very interesting discussion. Students will be active and ask the questions. We also will prepare for you questions to answer, and all our experts will have a presentation and very interesting discussion too. So let me present you our expert. First of all, I'd like to present Mr. Ross McVey, the head of research and analytics, Gazprom Marketing and Trading Limited. Please. Mr. Iouri Virobian, President, Gazprom Marketing and Trading France. Sebastian Groeblighoff, Vice President, Supply Russia, E.ON Global Commodities. David Salfati, Vice President, Supply East, Energy Management and Trading, NG. Konstantin von Oldenburg, Head of Department Gas Purchase East, VNG. Hélène Rinalda, Department Sales and Liquid Markets, GasTerra. Vyacheslav Kusov, Head of Directorate, Department of Exchange Trade Operations, Gazprom. And also Dmitry Kotulskiy, Deputy Head of Department of Exchange Trade Operations, Gazprom. He will join us a little bit later. And of course, our moderators, first of all, Geert Greving, our Director of External Relations, Interaction with Government Authorities, GasTerra, and me, Marina Puchkova, Saint-Petersburg State University of Economics. Thank you very much, and I suggest my moderator of the section, Mr. Greving, to start this section with the explanation why we choose such an interesting topic for today's discussion. Gas hubs, gas exchange, a facilitator or a threat?
Okay, good morning, ladies. Not so much ladies here, we have more ladies in the room. That's the reason I'm going to walk along, because you have to wake up, because we want to have a real debate. We have questions for you, and you have to answer them, and you see immediately the results. But anyway, we heard yesterday stories about the value chain, the perspective of the natural gas business in Europe and Russia, and we are focusing today on the market developments in Europe. I hope all of you are ready for Europe. We will talk about Europe. Europe is changing because we have another market structure than we have in Russia. It is more liquid, and we see results of this market-driven economy with its impact, a huge impact. Companies who were dealing in the past with natural gas sales are squeezing out because the margins to make your business are becoming smaller and smaller. Long-term contracts we have been hearing yesterday. It will be extremely difficult to sell long-term contracts in Europe anymore. Is that the answer to the energy security for Europe? I have no idea. Maybe you have a feeling about that, but Europe is going to be very short delivered and very short security of supply. If that is good for the politics, I don't care. The market is providing it. And the market is setting the scene. And if you want to fight the market, it will be extremely difficult because the market will overrun you. That's more or less what we see in Europe today. What we see now is a new battle in Europe. It's amazing we don't see those players anymore in the room. But if you look to the retail market in Europe, we see that more and more groups of consumers are buying energy. They produce their own energy, like solar, wind, earth heat, we heard yesterday. And those end consumers have their own way of dealing with energy. And they buy some of them, which is not available on their own, on the market. And they can go themselves. New competitors, new entrants, new players. I will tell you two. You will be amazed. One of the players is IKEA. The other player is BMW. And you will say, BMW, they run cars, correct. Maybe they are not so clean as Volkswagen, you never know. But the new cars, like the Apple cars, have big batteries. And if you connect the big batteries to your house and you have your own energy supply, you have a balancing tool. And these new players, you don't see them here. So the big question maybe to the panel is, all of them, they are representing certain companies. Over 5 years, will be the same? Or will we see here maybe IKEA, or BMW, or Tesla, or Apple, which has announced to go ahead with electric cars? So the market is really thrilling, changing, and we see a new battlefield how we are going to deal with energy in the future. That's a quite sexy story. We were looking yesterday for a sexy story. I think this is a really sexy story because it gets more to the end consumers, and those who have good contact to the end consumers will win the battle, in my view. Nevertheless, we have to deal with the past, we have to deal with the future. We still have huge projects on the road to keep Europe warm and dealing with our electricity needs. They will grow, for sure. We are indeed, what we are saying in Europe, we are an energy market free of it, and we're trying to do as much as possible on emissions. We are burning coal, we are emitting a lot of emissions. So the political story, we are clean, the market is going to be dirty. So also here we have two sides of the medal, it seems to be. And we are in kind of a transition, not only to new energy, renewables, because I thought yesterday was one guy in the room dealing with renewables. I don't know if he is still here. If so, he would raise his voice if possible. We also have to incorporate renewables, that's true, but we also see kind of new market models, and we are dealing it from today. So the panelists which we have here, I hope we can speak about it. I never heard the word yesterday of decentralized energy production. It's imminent, I think, also in the UK as well in Holland. It has its impact also on the big companies who are playing with the energy market. So I'm looking forward to the debate. We have two speakers in front, where we start with, and then we have a question to you, several questions to you. You will take care of that. We will see the votes, and we will ask your opinion, and we will ask also the opinion of the panels. So I think we will start with the first speaker. Please announce the first speaker if you want.
Thank you very much, Mr. Greving. So I'd like to provide a word to Sebastian Groeblighoff, and with the presentation European gas hubs towards full market integration. Please, the first presentation.
Well, first of all, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for inviting us to this panel and giving us the opportunity to address this distinct group of people. Well, Geert, thanks for the short introduction, and I think you covered quite a number of points, and you said we have to consider the past, the present, and the future. And I'll try to do exactly this in my short presentation about European gas hubs. So I'll have a short look on the past, how these hubs essentially developed, and I'll also try to give a very brief outlook what might happen in the future. There is a very famous proverb, I think it was by Mark Twain, who said, you know, making projections is really difficult, particularly when you make projections about the future. But that's probably part also of our business. You know, times have become very, very dynamic, and for us it's important to try to find ways to deal with the uncertainty. So it will definitely be a discussion afterwards where things will be heading, but I'll try to give some input into this. Let us first have a quick look where we come from. And let us look at the general development of natural gas hubs in Europe. While today natural gas hubs and exchanges form an integral part of the European energy market, 15 years ago, there was only 2 gas hubs in Northwest Europe. Supported by governments, back then, national gas markets were rather dominated by either one large market incumbent or only very few market players. Interconnections between the different national markets were almost non-existent, and gas pricing was mainly based on oil and coal product indexations, and these oil and coal product indexations were attached to long-term gas supply contracts. What was lacking at that time was a single transparent price signal which was accessible for all market actors. driven by the early market opening and liberalization policies of the UK government in the early 90s and the first EU gas directive in 1998, continental European gas markets slowly opened themselves to more competition. The introduction of third-party access, meaning the possibility for other players in the market to access transport systems at the beginning of the millennium, was certainly one of the key elements in breaking down the traditional market structures. Subsequently, new players entered the scene and they pushed for the establishment of trading hubs where gas could be bought and sold based on a transparent and reliable price signal. Well, what happened next was that step by step and fueled by this further EU and national legislation, gas hubs were established essentially all over Europe and all over the place. With the advent of publicly available price signals for different prices between individual, or the different prices between individual markets became more transparent and apparent and created incentives for a stronger interconnection and physical integration of markets. Because the price signal, of course, when you see that there are different prices, higher prices in one market, lower prices in other markets, you try to somehow make use of the opportunities from arbitraging between these markets. The chart shows the convergence of prices of the months ahead product for deliveries at 4 major European hubs over time. And what you can see quite nicely is while in 2005 there were quite some significant price differences, these price differences completely vanished over the last couple of years. And the reason for this was that physical infrastructure was extended. And one very good example is the bidirectional BBL pipeline that was built between the UK and continental Europe. So you could transport gas from the UK to the continent and the other way around, giving you the opportunity to arbitrage between different prices on the continent and in the UK. During the last years, we have to say that the gas hub prices gradually solidified their position and importance. In several key European gas markets, transparent hub prices have even fully replaced the traditional oil product indexation as the dominant pricing signal. So when we, for instance, are in touch with our customers, they look at the prices which are quoted at the hubs, because this is a transparent price signal that they can revert to, that they can look at. And the pricing system that we used to have in the past in the more closed markets, with long-term contracts being indexed to oil and coal, they have been essentially replaced by these new price signals. When you look at recent press headings, there seems to be little doubt. The overall importance of gas trading hubs in exchanges continues to grow. And I personally believe it's a trend that we can't stop. So I expect that we will not see a way back into the old world. The big question for us is, will we see a full market integration in Europe, and will we see one single price signal for Europe? So will we have one big gas hub in Europe and one price signal for whole continental Europe, or even for Europe extending towards the boundaries? So will there be one essential big price signal? Well, let's have a look at the different hubs in Europe, and you can see that as of today, the development status and the function of the existing gas hubs still vary strongly. We have less developed hubs, which are still limited to fulfilling a balancing function within their markets, and there's a relatively low level of liquidity. That means there's not so much volumes that are traded at these hubs. And you have the more advanced hubs, which allow you to provide a full range of trading products with high liquidity, and it also allows market participants to really pursue sophisticated trading and risk management strategies. When comparing, for example, traded volumes based on the churn ratio, so that means how many times physical volumes are in a way traded, and it's essentially expressing the relations of volume traded to the actual physical deliveries. There still is a significant difference between the markets. And you can see I picked the 3 biggest one, the national balancing point in the UK, the tidal transfer facility in the Netherlands, and the leading German hub, the NCG. You see that there's still some difference between these individual markets. Anyway, without doubt, the development of gas hubs and exchanges is one driving force towards an integrated European gas market. However, the different degrees of market opening in individual EU member states, as well as the sluggish development of physical interconnections in some regions, still represent a major obstacle to a true and fully integrated European gas market. Despite the ongoing effort of the EU policies and institutions, a single European gas market with only one price quoted at one European single hub, to my mind, will not be seen in the near future. So what we will see is we will see extended trading activities, we will see the attempt to increase the interconnectivity between markets, but the way towards one single European gas market with one single price signal is not to be expected in the near future. So that's probably a short introduction into what we've seen in the past, where we are at the present, and a very short and brief outlook to the future. I'm open to questions in the discussion.
Thank you very much, Sebastian. Thank you for the information that you have prepared for all the statistical analytical materials. I think that all the audience will be prepared a few questions, but I suggest you to have one more presentation, and then we will be ready to answer all the questions that you have in your mind. So I give a word to Elena Rinalda, GasTerra. Please. Presentation number 2.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. I will tell you something about the role of prices in gas trading on the hubs and the importance of prices. Let me first introduce a little bit about my company, GasTerra. We are a gas trading company based in the Netherlands. Our supplies come mainly from the Dutch domestic production and a small amount of imports. We export gas and we sell gas on the Dutch market to, for example, energy distribution companies and industries. And, of course, we sell gas on the hubs, like the Dutch TTF. I'll briefly introduce gas hubs and how gas is traded on these hubs. The most physical infrastructure is regulated by governments within the European Union, and at least in Western European, the trade of gas is free on a free market. Gas can be delivered on different hubs where the hub price is paid, and gas can be transported through different countries via exit and entry points where also transport fees are paid. This graph shows you the amount of gas which is delivered on the hubs with regard to the total amount of energy demand in Western Europe. As you can see, this amount is growing, and by now it's almost 80% of all the gas that is delivered on hubs. And we believe that this will become 100% in the near future. Also, the gas which is not delivered on the hubs, the prices are linked to the hub prices, so the impact of hub prices is almost 100%. The markets in Western Europe are very liquid. There are many players, many transactions. You can buy standardized products. You can buy gas for a year, for a season, a month, etc., which creates a very trusted and accepted price for the gas. And therefore there is gas-to-gas competition and gas-to-gas pricing in Western Europe. This slide shows you an example of the many players which are in the European market. The different colors stand for different sources of origin of the gas. You can see that's a lot. And there's not really one price setter because of that. This slide also gives you an indication of where the gas supplies are coming from. This slide was also slightly in the previous presentation. It shows you the monthly average month-ahead prices on 4 very important hubs in Europe: the Dutch TTF, British MBP, and the German NCG and Gaspool. You can see prices are more or less becoming the same, which means supply and demand in Europe is being balanced, and there's full gas-to-gas competition. It's the law of one price. And to say another time, it's price that matters. And here's an example of that for power generation. It's the cost prices for gas and coal for the same amount of electricity. Right now, of course, you can see coal is much cheaper, and therefore power is being generated by coal. And power generation often switches depending on what's the cheapest resource to generate electricity. This mechanism also goes for LNG. If the price is right, LNG can come, and if demand is low, price is low, it won't come. That's the importance of the price. Well, let's sum up very short the most important conclusions of this brief story. We believe the market soon will be 100% spot-based. The law of one price is applicable in Western Europe. It's a matter of price, and we believe that prices are more and more important than politics and geopolitics. That was my presentation. Thank you.
We have questions in the room? Who is want to make the first question? Come on. Nobody? Nobody?
Just pick one.
We pick one. So or a volunteer or we pick one. No, nobody, everybody is understanding that the market is getting extremely liquid, that people can buy what they want, and consumers don't care where it comes from, except the politicians. We have one question here, one volunteer.
Basically, what makes you estimate that it will be 100% delivery through hubs in the near future, which you mentioned?
Thank you. We believe that markets are becoming more and more important to balance supply and demand in Western Europe. Infrastructure is getting better and better. Hub prices will be more important and also be a basis for all prices. So we believe that it will become 100%, or at least almost 100%.
I think what you also said was, even if it is 80%, the prices will be 100% already linked to gas-to-gas competition. So it doesn't matter if you still have some long-term contracts on a special location. The price will be linked to the price of tomorrow, whatever it is. So be welcome in the casino. Are there more questions?
We have one more comment for the previous one question from Konstantin.
A short comment on that. Why do we believe that? If you look in the markets, the more interconnections you have, for example, from Germany to Austria to Hungary, in the past there was a certain price level in Austria and a certain price level in Germany. The closer the markets got, there was actually no plus. In the past it was hub price Germany plus transport to Austria. Today it's more or less the same, the hub prices. And this is like if you now go further to Hungary, it's going into the same direction, that they go to the level of the Austrians. So the better the interconnection is between the market, the less arbitrage opportunities you have.
My name is Anastasia Goreva. I'm from Petroleum Argus. My question is the following. You say that end consumers do not care where the gas will come from, except of politicians. But could anyone sort of prioritize who actually dictates the market in Europe? End consumers, politicians who somehow care where the gas will come from, investors who must invest into interconnectors to make the market more liquid, or gas sellers. How would you put these priorities? Thank you.
Maybe Ellen can answer that, because we just recently finished off a university investigation of all the data 2011-2013 on economics. She can tell it, but maybe also somebody in the panel. First Ellen, and then you one?
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, I think it's what probably some European politicians tend to underestimate, and which is also not always clear to customers, to end customers. When you look at gas supplies to Europe, we are more than 85% import dependent. So we do get our gas not from indigenous production, so not from production which is within Europe. And the number of suppliers around us is limited. It became larger due to technologies like the possibility to liquefy natural gas and to transport it and to offer it on economic terms. But it's in a way, you know, the choice and the options that we do have in Europe is limited. So it's not a question of, okay, there might be political motivations to say there's one supplier that I prefer this time, but what will remain as a general situation is that the number of suppliers remains limited. And when you look around Europe, Russia always has been one of our key suppliers, and I'm quite sure it will remain one of our key suppliers. You have Norway that has been a strong supplier. We have the Netherlands, which is counted as indigenous production. So these are the key supply sources for Europe. There is the idea to extend and to tap into new areas where we can source gas. There's a lot of discussion about the north of Africa, but if you look at the political situation, big question. Apart from that, a lot of the new production that we see in that regions is going into the region itself, because these regions are also developing. So I'm not quite sure, you know, if this is really a question of choice or a big choice and where we have our priorities.
Okay, a lady in a second.
I mean, the companies who invest into interconnectors, are they somehow can influence this situation? Or is your answer that a supplier and then a consumer dictates the market, but not the politicians? That politicians do not, in fact, play any role.
Well, that's indeed for investors. Of course, it's one of the key questions is, does it make sense for me to enter into one of these very capital-intensive projects? So if you build a pipeline, I mean, there's Nord Stream 2, which now has been announced as a new project. I mean, this is a project which is around 7, 8, 9 billion euros worth. So if you want to make this investment, of course, as an investor, you want to have some certainty that your gas can be sold and that it can be sold on economic terms. And that is a very big discussion, because people say, okay, do the markets that we see today, do they provide this sustainable price signal? Well, you know, that's the market that we have to deal with. And on the one hand, it's understandable that investors want to have this certainty of a price level that allows them to make that investment. On the other hand, the European politicians have opted for a system that might lead to some more price volatility, and that can have an effect that we see more cycles. Yeah? You will see probably cycles of higher prices because there's less demand in the market. Then investors might be inclined to invest more because they see the higher price. You will see some more supply coming into the market, prices coming down, then it's less attractive. We have seen that in other markets, the oil market. Yeah? You will probably see more a cyclical business, and it will probably be more cyclical than it used to be in the past, where we had this strong relationship via long-term contracts.
My name is Julia Bernstein, National Mineral Resources University, Mining University, Saint-Petersburg. My question is connected with the previous one. I would like to know what type of gas is European hubs are interested in. Will it be pipeline gas or LNG gas?
I think that's a question that can be that can be answered quite quickly, because it will depend on the price. So you know, traders at a hub, they don't ask if the gas is coming through a pipe or if it comes on an LNG ship. They only look at the price, and they will also always go for the option that is from an economic perspective the most advantageous for them. So and it will in the future be a competition which is fully and solely based on price. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for your questions. And we have 4 more very interesting presentations, so let's continue. Have in mind your questions to have in mind the question that you have, and we will return to them. And now, we also prepared one question for you. The students have some special technical devices to vote for the question that we prepare for you. So please look on the screen. Первый вопрос, пожалуйста. You have 1 minute to answer the question you see on the screen and vote for the answer. Please take your time and begin voting. Начинаем голосование.
So in English, is the natural gas business a political issue or more or less a business influenced by economic issues? More or less the questions which we already were answering, trying to answer. Now it's up to you to say A for yes or no for B. And if it's hard to answer, it may be C. We have some results?
Okay, stop voting. Есть результат? Just 1.5 of the second, and the results are on the screen.
A is a winner.
Yes, so it means that yes, it's connected, and I kindly ask our experts to comment the results of our students. What do you think on each? Please, Konstantin.
I think it's something in between. I'm a lawyer. I will always say it depends by education. But in the end, it's a business. And in business, you have to earn money. It's a commercial question. Like Sebastian said, if you plan to invest in a pipeline, you want to get a certain return. If you put 7-9 billion euro into the Baltic Sea, you want to know I get back money on a yearly basis, I get back what I invested, and I on top earn something. So my answer would have been something in between. It's economic business influenced by politics. And highly influenced by today's regulation by the EU, which does not make it easier to have a solely commercial approach.
Thank you
It's
very much.
something between yes and no.
Sorry. Thank you very much for comment. Mr. Virobian, I saw you put a hand.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I think that the reply maybe reflects that you are students and you have your information from your universities, from newspapers, from television, and there are a lot of political aspects when we are looking for this. But when you are business, I completely agree with my colleague that maybe replying also to your questions concerning the role of politics, investors, and the market. Market is regulated by supply and demand, and supply and demand regulate the markets first. There is for sure political aspects, for sure. But mainly in business, I have partners here in panel, and I see some partners in between you. When we are discussing, our main idea is please leave business to make business, and please don't introduce a lot of politics, because for us it's barriers. It's not helping us to move in our business. When we are discussing our contracts, we are discussing on the basis of markets, each markets where contracts is signed, and mainly we're discussing not political aspects, but we're discussing where is supply, where is the demands, and where is the right price.
Thank you very much for a very complete and interesting answer. And any other expert who would like to comment the results? If no, I'd like to provide the word to the next speaker. Please, Rose McVey, and the topic of the presentation, evolution and potential expansion of gas hubs. The third presentation.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for the time to let me come and talk to you. I work at Gazprom Marketing Trading. We're a team sort of based in London, but we have offices around the world. And we primarily look at the trading aspect of the natural gas world. I'll probably start with a bit of an apology. In the gas industry, we're very bad on the use of the word hub. A hub is essentially just a point in space that's defined. It can be virtual or it can be physical. For example, One of the most famous gas hubs around for trading is the Henry Hub in the United States, but that is based in a small town of Erath in Texas. It only has a population of about 2,500 people. So the location isn't really the main point. It's just the fact it gives a place where you can actually trade gas. So what I'm going to talk about here is actually the trading gas aspect. Initially, a look back at the European expansion, and then if we get time towards the end, maybe looking at the global perspective of the gas market. In a similar slide to Sebastian's slide at the start time, 10 years ago, the trading gas market in Europe was very small. It was primarily based around the United Kingdom at the national balancing point. That was the first gas hub trading established in Europe in about 1996. And those small amounts of trading at Zeebrugge in Belgium, and also, although it wasn't called the TTF at the time, it was based in the Netherlands. In the past 10 years, we've seen about a 6 times increase in the trading volume and the expansion of gas hubs throughout Northwest Europe. At the same time, we've seen demand come down. So we're now looking at a situation where each molecule of gas within the European market is traded about 8 times before it goes to delivery. This is even irrespective of the fact that most of the trading is actually done in the West. The MBP is still the largest single gas market in Europe, whereas the TTF in the Netherlands has seen a very large increase in the amount of volume. And we've seen some more hubs develop, particularly 2 in Germany. There is 2 in France, but we only managed to get data for the single point. And then some trading within Italy and also Austria. Looking forward, we're probably expecting a further increase in expansion of the number of hubs, primarily through Central Europe and into Eastern Europe. And then we also have the situation with the Iberian Peninsula. At the moment, Iberia is a market very much influenced by supplies from North Africa, but mainly from liquefied natural gas, or LNG. So because of this lack of physical interconnection between Iberia and France, we see Spain actually trading as quite an isolated system. However, there is talk of more interconnection that will actually bring the Spanish market and the availability of LNG more into the Western markets. The countries shaded in blue are actually quite liberalised markets. We have quite a degree of trading within them, and there is regulation in place to allow free access to the gas. The countries in orange do have the regulation in place to allow trading. They have open entry-exit zones, so essentially people can move gas between the zone, and there is some trading in respect to the Northwest European hubs. The countries in grey are very much in the developmental stage. They haven't got the required regulation in place to actually enable the development of hubs. And for a lot of the markets, they're actually too small to actually stimulate enough trading. So what we're actually seeing is the fact that we may get some regional hubs there. So we might get a Southern and Eastern Europe hub, or a hub up in the Baltic as well. Conceptually, how the hubs actually work is that they actually try and balance supply and demand. The chart on the left-hand side shows the situation in 2013, where into Northwest Europe we had the main supplies coming from the Norwegian pipe, Russian pipe, and North African pipe. Then what we'll actually have is movement of the gas through the various hubs to match the supply and demand. Over on top of this, we will also have the indigenous production and interaction with storage, so it's a bit more of a dynamic system. The LNG that's actually coming into this picture is probably the biggest flexibility or unknown within this picture. It was talked about earlier in terms of security of supply into the market. The LNG is very much directed by the global market. So in 2013, the year there, we actually had very low LNG deliveries into the markets, as there was a lot more demand for the gas within the Asian markets. However, with new LNG supply coming in the system, we're likely to see more LNG available to the European market. So that LNG will come into the European market if the price is the biggest. And one of the questions earlier was what's the preferential source of gas? And essentially the LNG is available to the market, and if the European market pays the highest price, then LNG will become available. On the chart on the right, I've taken just one gas year from October 2012 till September 2013, to show that the gas markets are generally a lot more variable than existing longer-term supply contracts. The solid lines there are indicating some proxy of an oil index contract, whereas the gas markets on the day ahead will respond a lot to the local supply and demand. In this example, the MBP, the UK, will generally import gas from the continent in the winter, so the MBP will have a higher price than the continental markets, whereas in the summer, the MBP there, the UK, will generally export into the continental market, so you'll generally see a lower MBP price. Because it's a lot more responsive to local supply-demand positions, we had a very large price increase in around March 2013 because we had a very cold period of winter come in when the storage was actually quite low, and so the market increased in price. That had the response of attracting LNG that came in from Qatar to actually satisfy the local sort of position. Just in terms of the global perspective in terms of gas hubs, we've very much talked about the European hubs. They are growing in volume, deliveries and number. The best known market is the Henry Hub in the United States. However, there are multiple markets within the United States, and the Henry Hub is the biggest pricing point, but not the biggest volume. Dominion South, near the Marcellus field, is the biggest traded volume. The Henry Hub and the MBP used to trade very close to each other, but then the US found how to activate shale gas, and what we were seeing is the fact that the price of the gas in the United States has come off a lot and continues to go lower. The United States are actually getting better at drilling in the shale, and so the gas is getting cheaper. The Asian spot market, shown here in JKM, isn't a traded market at this moment in time. It's a price indication. So we cannot buy or sell gas in the Asian spot market. So what we actually said is that the Asian price was very close to other prices prior to Fukushima and the tsunami that hit Japan. With the closure of the nuclear power plants, the demand for gas within Asia went up a lot, and we started to see Asia having to pay a lot of money to get access to the gas. This took gas away from the European market, so we had lower amounts of LNG. What that actually stimulated, because it's a high-price environment, a lot of people took investment decisions to start building new supply projects. And we're starting to see those new supply projects becoming active. And so what we're actually starting to see is the price of gas in Asia has come down again. And we're starting to see a lot more interaction between the European markets and the Asian markets. Going forward, this interaction will likely grow. A lot of new LNG supplies are actually going to be indexed to the Henry Hub price, or LNG suppliers are looking to actively trade in the European markets. But there's been a lot of talk about whether we'll actually see Asian hubs develop. And I think the short answer is it's not going to be a short time, but certainly within the career of those in the room, that if you come into the gas industry, you'll certainly start seeing some Asian gas markets develop. They have some logistics and other problems to solve, but I think within the next 5 to 10 years, we'll see markets within Asia. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. One question, on one of your slides you had a grey area. I think it was the Balkan region, which is not sufficient with pipelines and neither hubs, neither connections. Everything is failing. What should be, in your view, should be done from a European perspective in order to have this grey area more connected?
Well, I think it comes down to two aspects. One is the regulation aspect. They need to be able to get the transmission service operators to communicate to allow free access between the markets. Then there is actually some infrastructure projects that are required, particularly to connect the Balkans up to the more liquid Western markets. And there's a few interconnectors that are being announced. One by EU Stream that's actually looking at giving the Balkan region more access to the Western market. And once there is actually more diversity of supply, I think that's going to be the big trigger for setting up the trading markets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Are we allowing one question?
Okay, let's have a question, maybe from the students.
Is a question special to all these virtual business, paper, but this is the way it works. I think if you're asking consumers, which you already are asking, if consumers
I
are
have a
really
question.
interested in certain issues, what we see is indeed the consumer doesn't care where it comes from. He neither cares how long it is available, because he believes that it will be also there tomorrow. So the market is propelled by the consumers. Where it comes from, we don't care. We buy just what we need, and that's it. So that's a complete different way of dealing with the market than we had in the past. Please.
Dmitry from Gubkin Russian State University of Oil and Gas. You talk about gas hubs as a physical storage, but do you have some hubs or information about hubs like a virtual point? Thank you.
Yeah, when I was talking about the storage, is that the price signals in the hub give a big indication about how companies should actually use storage when they look at actually injecting into the hubs or withdrawing it out of the hubs. The virtual point, most of the gas hubs in Europe, I think there's only one left that's a physical point in space. They're all virtual hubs. So if you get, for example, if you import gas into the Netherlands, essentially you are at the TTF, so you can arrange delivery and trading at that point. So there is a big move within Europe that all the hubs are actually going to be just virtual points of space, much like in the oil market, where essentially if you look at Brent, everyone knows the Brent contract. That has a virtual point of, it's got a delivery location, but very few cargoes actually come to that physical location. It's just a reference point they can actually use to trade around it.
Thank you very much. Any other question from the students? You see that our discussion provoked the questions even through the experts, so between the experts we are very happy. So in this case, let's continue our discussion, and with pleasure I provide a word to the president of Gazprom Marketing Trading France, Mr. Virobian.
Большое спасибо.
Четвертый
Я представляю компанию Gazprom Marketing Trading. Это стопроцентная зарубежная точка Газпрома. Я коллега Росса. Росс работает в лондонском офисе, я в парижском. Компания международная, у нас работает много-много различных национальностей, больше 25. Основными рабочими языками у нас являются русский и английский. Я буду говорить здесь на русском языке. Может быть, несколько слов о себе. Для вас, может быть, интересно, для студентов. Я закончил МГИМО. После этого несколько лет посвятил научной работе в Институте Африки Академии наук в секторе арабских стран, поскольку в институте был первый арабский язык, поэтому занимался именно в этом секторе. И работал по энергетическому сектору энергетической промышленности в Алжире. В результате я заинтересовался энергетикой и начал работу в «Газпроме». Сначала в «Газпром Экспорте», потом в ГМТ, ГМТ сокращение «Gazprom Marketing Trading», в ГМТ Франции в Париже. Я буду говорить сегодня о другом виде деятельности, в отличие от моих коллег, которые рассказывали о трейдинге, о биржах. Кстати, могу вам сказать, что это очень интересная сфера. По общению наших со студентами мы понимаем, что в наших вузах может быть еще недостаточно внимания этому сегменту подготовки специалистам в этой области. И мы готовы оказать нашу поддержку университетам и специалистами, и тренингом. Я считаю, что это очень интересная сфера, особенно для молодежи, тех, кто любит определенный риск, взвешенный риск. Но надо готовить специалистов, мы заинтересованы в специалистах, в том числе в российских, из ваших вузов. Я буду говорить о продажах конечным потребителям, поскольку работаю в компании ГМТ Франция, которая занимается именно этим видом деятельности на французском рынке. Мы считаем в «Газпроме», что этот сегмент важный для группы, важный элемент всей цепочки. «Газпром» имеет полную цепочку, начиная от добычи газа, транспортировки по российской территории, транзита по Европе и продажи конечным потребителям. Различные виды деятельности, такие как... И у нас в «Газпроме» есть весь портфель. В основном это и главное, это долгосрочные контракты. Помимо этого мы работаем на торговых площадках, то, что сегодня, вот, о чем Рос говорил. Мы работаем на различных биржах, и мы также работаем на рынке конечного потребления. Специфика работы на рынке конечного потребления заключается в том, что когда поставляется газ по долгосрочным контрактам, то газ идет тем же самым объемом ежедневно. Конечный потребитель требует большой гибкости, поскольку зависит от профиля. Бывают потребители, которые зависят от температуры, бывают от производства. Но в любом случае он должен иметь возможность иметь гибкость, либо ничего не брать, либо брать 100%, а иногда брать больше, чем 100% по контрактам. Для этого мы используем торговые площадки, для этого мы используем трейдинг в том числе, дополняем долгосрочные контракты, таким образом имеем возможность поставлять, модулировать наши поставки газа и поставлять конечным потребителям тот продукт, который им требуется. Несколько слов так, сейчас, секундочку. Несколько слов о нашей компании. Компания Gazprom Marketing Trading в рамках «Газпрома» занимается широким профилем продуктов. В нашем портфеле есть как трубопроводный природный газ, так и сжиженный природный газ, электроэнергия, сертификаты выбросов, различные новые товары, как гели и другие товары, которые сопровождают добычу природного газа, а также такие товары, как сук и другие товары. Что касается собственности и управления компанией, то мы, как я уже говорил, являемся 100% точкой «Газпрома» через «Газпром Экспорт», «Газпром Германии». И дальше работаем в нескольких продуктовых областях, а также в географиях. Я непосредственно занимаюсь французским рынком в рамках нашей компании. Так, я пошел обратно. Этот слайд посвящен вопросам спроса, предложения и производства в Европе. Вчера говорилось об этом, в том числе выступление Алексея Борисовича Миллера, о том, что по прогнозам ожидается определенный рост спроса на природный газ в Европе. К сожалению, последние годы этот спрос мы констатировали больше стагнации, но по прогнозам всех ведущих компаний и научных центров в предстоящие годы намечается рост спроса. При этом одновременно мы являемся свидетелями снижения добычи на европейском континенте. Я могу назвать, может быть, две цифры вам назову. Это то, что к 2025 году в Европе потребуется как минимум 152 миллиарда дополнительных объемов газа, а к 2035 году 212 миллиардов. Говорит о том, что Европа заинтересована в получении импортного газа, и «Газпром» сегодня играет важную роль на этом рынке. Мы считаем, что природный газ играет и будет играть важную роль, в том числе на европейском рынке, в таких новых областях, как использование газа, как газомоторное топливо. Вопрос активно сейчас обсуждается. Вчера много раз поднимался на форуме. Я сталкивался с такими вопросами. Недавно у нас была встреча с французским регулятором, который задал вопрос, что вы думаете о газе как газомоторном топливом. Мы сказали, что видим большое будущее, на что мы получили в ответ: ну понятно, вы работаете в газовой компании, вам за это платят, поэтому вы пробиваете газ. Но если мы забудем, где мы работаем, кто в каких компаниях работает, то мы видим действительно много позитивных моментов, которые дает газ как газомоторное топливо. Чистое топливо имеется в наличии. Наверное, основной проблемой, которая сегодня обсуждается, это инвестиции в газозаправочные станции, которых действительно не хватает. Также вот на одном форуме в Париже было обсуждение вокруг газомоторного топлива, и один из потребителей газа встал и сказал: в принципе, я за, но вопрос в том, что в парижском регионе всего 3 заправки. Ну как я могу с своим автомобилем покупать газовый автомобиль, если всего 3 заправки? И, конечно, это создает проблему. Сегодня в этот сегмент требуются инвестиции. Мы, как «Газпром», тоже изучаем различные проекты в европейских странах. Важную роль, мы надеемся, газ будет играть в производстве электроэнергии на так называемых станциях, комбинированных станциях CCGT. К сожалению, опять же, в последние годы мы наблюдаем кризис в этом сегменте, связанный в целом с кризисом экономическим. Мы считаем, что, тем не менее, в будущем место для газа в электроэнергии важное. Связано это с тем, что когда Европа говорит о том, что возобновляемые виды энергии имеют важную роль, и все больше и больше будет внимания возобновляемым видам энергии, электростанции на газе являются важным элементом, сопутствующим развитию возобновляемых. Поскольку когда нету солнца и нету ветра, то газовые станции являются альтернативой самой интересной. Они быстро запускаются, их можно быстро остановить. Как я уже говорил, газ чистое топливо имеется в наличии, и мы считаем конкурентоспособной по сравнению с остальными. Поэтому мы считаем, что этот сегмент будет также развиваться. Кстати, вот могу отметить как парадокс германский случай. Мы знаем, что в Германии достаточно сильная власть зеленых, и зеленые играют активную роль. При этом одновременно мы наблюдаем рост потребления угля в производстве электроэнергии. То есть электростанции продолжают дымить, используя уголь. Вот. Мы считаем, это временный элемент. Да, действительно, сегодня уголь дешевый. Вот. Но тем не менее, это временный элемент, и в будущем все-таки газ будет заменять уголь в производстве электроэнергии. Что касается либерализации рынка и европейского законодательства, наверное, остановлюсь только на одном сегменте, поскольку тема достаточно широкая. На сегменте либерализации рынка конечного потребителя действительно для нас это важный элемент, и «Газпром» выступает как новый поставщик на этом рынке. Как это ни странно, наверное, для России, где «Газпром» играет другую роль, то на европейских рынках «Газпром» является новым поставщиком. На данном слайде показаны те игроки, которые сегодня на французском рынке выступают. Все больше и больше новых поставщиков. В основном исторические поставщики начали работать в сегменте крупных промышленности, где, наверное, легче всего было войти на этот рынок. И сегодня все больше и больше поставщиков идет в рынок мелких потребителей. Не так много пока, около 25 поставщиков работают в сегменте бытовом. Вот вы видите с левой стороны, это те, кто работают в сегменте бытовых потребителей. Здесь основную роль играют исторические поставщики. Здесь еще старое название ЖДФ-Суэц, я извиняюсь перед моим коллегой. Сегодня компания называется NG. NG и ДФ – это два исторических поставщика. Один добавил в свой портфель электричество, другой добавил газ. Сегодня активно конкурируют друг с другом на обеих рынках. Мы работаем, вы видите, «Газпром Энерджи» в сегменте, пока не работаем в сегменте бытовом, работаем в сегменте крупных промышленностей, средней и мелкой промышленности. Могу, может быть, сказать две цифры по нашей деятельности во Франции. Начали в 2007 году, получив лицензию. Первые контракты с крупными промышленными потребителями. В 2011 году мы вышли на сегмент среднего и мелкого потребления газа. Сегодня мы имеем в нашем портфеле около 2000 клиентов с 6000 пунктов сдачи газа. В нашем портфеле около 1 миллиарда газа, который мы подаем конечным потребителям, что добавляется к долгосрочным контрактам с NG, где объемы значительно больше. Рынок очень интересный, рынок крупной промышленности сегодня конкурентоспособный, много поставщиков, в основном работаем на базе тендеров. Среди клиентов могу назвать регион Альзас, где мы недавно подписали глобальное соглашение по поставкам газа на учебные заведения в этом регионе. Город Нант, могу назвать также ряд конечных потребителей, таких как магазины Ашан, как гаражи ряда производителей автомобилей, таких как Mercedes, Audi и так далее, много других клиентов. Наиболее активность у нас на севере Франции. Французский энергетический рынок разделен сегодня на 3 зоны. И переход газа из одной зоны в другой требует оплаты транзитной, достаточно дорогой. Наш газ российский поступает на север Франции, поэтому у нас основные позиции, основные потребители в этом сегменте, в этой энергетической зоне. Несколько слов о работе с конечными потребителями. Во Франции ситуация складывается таким образом, что до последнего времени, до открытия рынка был один поставщик, и поэтому не было большого интереса. У тебя был тариф, который регулировал цену, у тебя был один счет в месяц, и никакого интереса интересоваться не было, потому что ты платил тот счет, который к тебе приходил. Когда рынок открылся, то это было неожиданностью для многих, особенно мелких потребителей, которые просто не знали функционирования рынка. И мы вместе с другими новыми поставщиками, «Газпром» сегодня, помимо всего прочего, мы проводим сервисное обслуживание наших клиентов, объясняя клиентам, что такое газ, как он функционирует, как функционирует рынок, как формируются цены. Это абсолютно необходимое сопровождение наших контрактов, и те, кто лучше это делают, имеют преимущество у конечных потребителей. Ну, в завершение мне хотелось бы сказать, что мы рассчитываем на то, что рынок будет развиваться, рынок будет конкурентоспособный, и «Газпром» будет занимать достойное место на этих рынках. Спасибо за внимание.
Thank you very much for the very interesting presentation, and I hope that our students have questions for the topic, so we are waiting. Your hands, I see one hand over there.
I just had an answer to you. You were talking about coal producing lignite. I saw just that Greenpeace is willing to buy one of the lignite factories in Germany in order to close it. So also here it's a matter of price.
Thank you. Frederik Reimann from the University Duisburg-Essen in Germany. I have a question concerning the NGV market. You pointed out the growing importance of NGV, but the current lack of infrastructure. So what, in your opinion, is the strategy to improve the infrastructure with regard to the consumer demand? Would you suggest to actively give incentives or just trust on the political incentives?
I think it's depends on the countries. In some countries, we still need a lot of political support. For example, in France, definitely, we are speaking a lot with the ministry, with banks, with investors, that in our projects we really need support of investors to build necessary infrastructure, what I told you before. In the same time, we need also the suppliers to be interested in this kind of markets. And we see that more and more suppliers is entering this market. As you know, there is also LNG, which is we plan to use in truck and in bus or in bunkering also. And you know that practically all the LNG terminals and all new building LNG terminals now are equipped with installation for small-scale LNG. For us, it's very important because when today we are looking for this, we need to supply. And a large gas supply, no problem. There are a lot of gas, you know, today market is really a buyer's market. But when we are speaking about small-scale LNG, there is not sufficient supply for this. We are looking also that Gazprom also is looking to supply Russian gas in this segment. But today we see that there are all LNG installation is now equipped on this, or starting to be equipped on this, and I think it will help us to develop this activity in Europe.
Okay, thank you. One more question, or are we going to ahead with our own question? One more question? Okay. You're right. Wait.
Я по-русски задам. Евдокимова Вероника, Национальный минеральный сырьевой университет Горный. Как известно, на европейском рынке есть и другие поставщики газа, помимо России. Нет ли опасений, что в дальнейшем Европа, в частности Франция, даст предпочтение другим поставщикам?
Знаете, я вам так отвечу на ваш вопрос. на одном из форумов энергетических в Париже в течение утренней секции было сказано о том, что Европа должна, ну вы, наверное, слышали тоже, это активно в прессе обсуждается, должна диверсифицироваться с точки зрения получения газа. И в этой связи Россия представляет опасность, занимая слишком большое место, поэтому надо дать определенный сегмент для России и дать возможность другим поставщикам поставлять свой газ. А в секции, которая была после обеда, один из представителей, также французский деловых кругов, сказал о том, что ну как же так, «Газпром» диверсифицирует свою деятельность, стал активно выступать на азиатском рынке, подписал контракты с Китаем. Так нельзя делать, надо «Газпром» оставить для Европы, иначе он уйдет из Европы. На что я ответил, вы как-то разберитесь между собой, нужен вам «Газпром» или не нужен. Мы считаем, что Европа диверсифицируется, мы ничего против этого не имеем. Мы ничего не имеем против вхождения на эти рынки других поставщиков. Есть традиционные поставщики, есть новые, которые приходят с сжиженным природным газом. Мы также диверсифицируемся, как «Газпром». Для нас очень важен становится азиатский рынок, китайский рынок, рынки других стран. При этом Европа остается стратегически важным рынком для нас. Исторически в течение 40 лет мы поставляли газ в Европу, продолжаем поставлять. Если вы поговорите с деловыми кругами, если вы поговорите с энергетическими компаниями, если вы поговорите с конечными потребителями, вам скажут, что мы заинтересованы в российском газе. Мы привыкли к российскому газу, нас полностью устраивает сложившаяся ситуация. Вот. Поэтому в этой связи я считаю, что для нас мы сегодня не видим каких-то критических опасностей для наших позиций. При этом, конечно, мы должны быть конкурентоспособными, конечно, мы должны работать над стратегией на этих рынках, изучать новые области применения, о том я еще сегодня говорил, и мы внимательно этим занимаемся, поэтому мы считаем, что для нашего газа есть место, и как есть газ для других поставщиков на этих рынках.
You want also to answer? Go on.
One comment to the question. I think the answer will always be supply and demand. And you saw the gap. You showed on your chart what we expect in additional demand in Europe. So the question is, what politicians say sometimes is not linked to what the market can deliver. So if you say, I don't like I understand some people said it in Paris, I don't want more Russian gas, then the question is, where else shall the gas come from if you see the gap in demand? And then there is only one alternative. It's not Norway, because Norway is at the limit. They will not produce much more than 110 BCM. Netherlands, UK, Germany, indigenous production is going down. So who can deliver? It will be Russia or LNG. And then again, it's a simple question in the end. Will it be LNG or Russia? It's a question of the price. And I think then the pipe gas from Russia is in a quite well position. If not politicians in Germany or in France or Europe decide, we're happy to pay an upside just to feel better. But then the consumers have to pay that, and I doubt that the Europeans are ready to do so.
Price. There was one more question, I think.
Yeah, I have seen one question from the student, I guess. You
On
have
the back
a question?
side? Was one more? No?
No more question?
Okay, we have a...
Ekaterina.
And then you have a question.
No, I have no. Thank you.
Ekaterina Kravetsky from GazUni. I have a question to all panel members, if I may. What is, in your opinion, if there's such a liquid markets in Europe, they all work and function very well, and there's a GMT function on the markets on behalf of Gazprom selling and buying natural gas on the hub. What then is the idea for this strategy to sell additional gas volumes via the auction mechanism? What is the idea about the auction mechanism? Why is it necessary for Gazprom to use this sales mechanism, you think? And, you know, what's your opinion about it? How do you think, what was the strategy behind it from the Gazprom's point of view, but also from other market parties, perhaps?
London or Paris? Paris?
As I understood, you spoke to the last auction which Gazprom organized in St. Petersburg, right? Yeah. Yesterday, Mr. Merel talked about future plans, that it is not the only one auction, that will organize new auctions, and The next one should be by the end of this year, and the volume should be bigger than the first one. The figures which was nominated yesterday was about 6 BCM. We consider that it is an additional new mean to sell gas. We're trying to diversify our activity in Gazprom. When I told you before that long-term contract is our main activity for the last 40 years, but market are changing, and Gazprom also is changing. Our company, GMT, we are working on foreign markets. We are working on different trading platforms in Europe. And it's very interesting new initiative of Gazprom to sell an auction from Saint-Petersburg, completely new activity, I think reflecting the requests of European Commission also. We're working on the new markets, on the market condition and market prices.
Are we continuing?
Okay, yes, we have no more question, but we prepared the question for the students once again. And I asked the students to prepare to vote, and the question number 2 you will see on the screen. Вопрос второй, пожалуйста, на экран.
We lost number 2?
I hope no.
No, here it is.
Here it is.
Okay.
Please.
Is the energy relation between Russia Federation and the EU improving or worsening? It's already debated lengthily, but now it's up to you. Improving means A. Worsening.
Please vote.
Could even more worsening. B. No answer or hard to answer. It's C. Up to you.
Please vote. And
here's the result.
Stop the result.
That's an equal score. I think it's 45, 46 for 3A and 42 B. Okay, up to you. Next.
So, the experts, what do you think about the results? Almost equal results.
A new speaker.
Yes, I think you know, as a student, when you had a statistic discipline in the university, there's 3 types of lie: the special lie, unspecial lie, and statistics. And here's the evidence of this. And in principle, this is a very subjective questions. What is the criteria to increase the relationship between Europe and Russia? Is it if the criterion the supply volume? This is a wrong answer, and this is a very subjective, and I think it's a little bit provocative question. Yes.
Okay, any other comments? Thank you very much. No? So let's continue our panel this way. And with pleasure, I provide the word to Vyacheslav Kusov, Department of Exchange Trade Operations, Gazprom. Please, the presentation number 5.
Добрый день, дамы и господа. Я представляю Департамент биржевой торговли администрации «Газпром», являюсь начальником управления анализа рынка биржевых товаров и контроля сделок. Поскольку достаточно много студентов в нашей аудитории присутствует, то я хочу сказать, что существенную часть своей жизни я посвятил также преподаванию, в частности, экономико-математическим методам. В частности, мы со студентами прорабатывали вопросы использования математических методов, в частности, и на ликвидных площадках энергетических. И также достаточно существенную часть я проработал в газэкспорте и был вовлечен в процесс создания газовой инфраструктуры в Европе, в частности ПХГ и проектов Nord Stream. Сегодня в своем докладе я бы хотел остановиться на проблематике газовых хабов и газовых бирж как инструмент реализации природного газа в Европе. Стоит отметить, что стратегия «Газпрома» на европейском рынке направлена в первую очередь на поддержание надежного газоснабжения европейских потребителей, также на повышение их экономической эффективности от экспортной деятельности. Ну и как любая коммерческая компания, мы, естественно, стремимся улучшить свою эффективность. Ну, собственно говоря, картинка, которая находится слева, вам уже представлялась моими коллегами неоднократно. Единственное, на что стоит обратить внимание, это на биржи, которые функционируют на европейском рынке. И наиболее, скажем так, сложившейся биржей является биржа ICE, Intercontinental Exchange, которая, по сути дела, является глобальной биржей, и европейский бизнес это всего лишь часть глобального бизнеса. Деятельность данной биржи сосредоточена как в области рынков капитала, так и в области торговли сырьевыми товарами. Стоит поговорить о том, что хабы как таковые, они могут делиться на виртуальные и физические. То есть если говорить о физических хабах, то точка продажи, физическая точка продажи, она совпадает, собственно говоря, с пунктом поставки. Если говорить о виртуальных хабах, то здесь, собственно говоря, вот если мы возьмем TTF, да, то в TTF существует несколько точек продажи газа. В частности, на границе Германии с Голландией, Бельгии с Голландией. Соответственно, многие эксперты говорят, что наиболее зрелый на текущий момент хабы — это хаб NBP в Великобритании, хаб TTF Нидерланды, бельгийские хабы и, конечно же, немецкие хабы NCG и Gazprom. Стоит сказать, что «Газпром» достаточно ведет активную торговую деятельность на европейском рынке и занимает 4-ю часть в европейском потреблении газа и 3-ю часть в общих поставках газа европейским потребителям. Хотелось бы также остановиться на роли и месте хабов и бирж в системе реализации газа европейским потребителям. Производители газа в настоящий момент могут реализовывать газ как на биржах, таких как ICE и EEX, через брокеров, так и на OTC рынке, over the counter, так называемый внебиржевой рынок, который предполагает наличие двухсторонних сделок. В свою очередь, как вы понимаете, данные контракты могут перепродаваться между собой, что в зависимости от конъюнктуры рынка увеличивает или уменьшает так называемый индекс ликвидности, о котором уже сегодня мои коллеги говорили. И для того, чтобы, в общем-то, газ дошел до конечного потребителя, необходимо его также перепродать поставщикам, так называемым поставщикам конечных потребителей. В отдельных случаях возможна прямая продажа с хабов или с бирж определенным категориям промышленных потребителей. Если кратко остановиться на основных инструментах торговли на газовых хабах и биржах, уже мои коллеги из Газюни уже об этом говорили, скажу, что в принципе инструменты торговли можно разделить на две большие группы. Это инструменты спотовой торговли, такие как в течение дня, такие продукты, как в течение дня, день, выходные дни и неделя. И инструменты форвардной торговли. Это торговля продуктами на месяц, на квартал, на сезон, на календарный и на газовый год. Профиль поставки, то есть вот поставка газа по этим продуктам, как правило, идет на равномерной основе в течение всего периода поставки. Достаточно важным аспектом изучения хабов с нашей стороны является, скажем так, акцент на том, какие преимущества и недостатки могут давать хабы для участников рынка. Стоит сказать, что в настоящий момент преимуществами торговли газом на хабах пользуются в основном трейдеры и отчасти потребители газа. А недостатки вынуждены, скажем так, брать на себя производители. Ну, одним из основных преимуществ торговли на газовых хабах является, конечно, развитие конкурентной среды, рост ликвидности рынка. Также немаловажно это диверсификация портфеля продаж для производителя и покупок для потребителя, а также снижение степени влияния продавцов и производителей газа друг на друга. Но, собственно говоря, как любая техническая, торговая, экономическая система, хабы имеют определенные недостатки. Ну, один из недостатков – это отсутствие возможности единовременной покупки значительных объемов газа, в том числе на долгосрочную перспективу. Имеется в виду, ну, скажем так, разовая закупка достаточно больших объемов. Также механизм ценообразования не стимулирует развитие и совершенствование газотранспортной инфраструктуры. В свою очередь, как бы газотранспортная инфраструктура, значит, как мы неоднократно убеждались, стимулирует развитие газовых хабов. Например, развитие ПХГ и развитие так называемых cross-border points, трансграничных трубопроводов. Также уровень цен на продукты, представленные на хабе, определяется иногда в значительной степени не спросом и предложением, а индивидуальным или коллективным поведением участников торгов на хабе. В заключении позвольте сделать определенные некоторые выводы по поводу механизмов реализации, по поводу возможности реализации газа на хабах, исходя из как бы текущей ситуации на европейском рынке. Значит, хабы не стимулируют развитие газовой инфраструктуры, такой как добыча, транспорт, хранение. Ну, скажем так, впрямую не стимулируют, поскольку не дают гарантии, скажем так, долгосрочной покупки объемов и либо оплаты тарифа на транспортировку и хранение газа. Далее, значит, механизм ценообразования на хабах в меньшей степени гарантирует покрытие отраслевых издержек, нежели иные механизмы ценообразования. Ну, под иными механизмами мы понимаем нефтепродуктовую привязку, то есть формулу цены с нефтепродуктовой привязкой. При использовании стопроцентной привязки к хабам, ну, стоит подумать о целесообразности ввода так называемого квотирования добычи газа и регулятора, подобного ОПЕК. Ну, собственно говоря, вы знаете, что сейчас есть Федерация стран-экспортеров газа, в которую Россия, в частности, входит, которая, в общем-то, призвана отстаивать данные интересы, в частности, при торговых отношениях. Ну и для устойчивого развития компаний-поставщиков и потребителей газа необходимы взаимовыгодные условия контрактов на продажу газа, а также наличие долгосрочных контрактов с механизмом ценообразования, с привязкой к продуктам с высокой добавленной стоимостью и либо высокотехнологичным продуктом. Благодарю вас за внимание, готов ответить на ваши вопросы. И, как бы извиняюсь за моего коллегу Дмитрия Котульского, который не смог из-за достаточно напряженного графика присутствовать на нашей панельной дискуссии.
Thank you. May I have one question to you? It's clear that if we talk about the market, we talk about the OTC market and spot markets and so on and so forth. On the pictures you see also fully what you are underlining, that if the price of all the hubs is the same, there is no margin to transport because there's no room anymore to facilitate upstream transportation, cross-border transportation, even storages. I understand very well, because I also come from the same business as you come, that how you want to finance these upstream activities, which are deep investments, long-term investments, and so on and so forth. So I can understand why Gazprom is more or less asking a podium how we have to deal with this kind of questions. In that respect, I have been wondering over the last couple of 3-4 years that the Russian state, that Gazprom, and even yesterday, it is clear that I think the statement by the Russians is we have 120 BCM on stock, ready to deliver to Europe. So if that is the position, I can understand the European positions. Well, you know, I don't care because there is enough, and as long if the market is needed, they will supply because they have it on the shelf. They don't have to do anything for it. So I'm a little bit curious, also from this technical, political arena, how you look to this, well, more or less marketing power by Gazprom, that there is so much still available which could be delivered easily to Europe.
Yes, the question is that in principle, if you're talking about marketing power, that's why we're trying to formate the additional sales channel to Europe. And we are not fixed just, for example, on the traditional pricing and contract mechanism. We are open to the other sales mechanisms also in the spot market. And our subsidiary company, Gazprom Marketing Trading, is very active on this market and has very long and very large experience to working on the spot and the liquid market. And that's why we're open for all new mechanisms which help us to monetize our production, our gas resources.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we have not so much time to the end of our section, so one question from the audience. Okay, so let's allow one question from the audience. Sorry, just one, and then we continue with the presentation and hope we have time to have more questions. Please.
Роман Якунин, Высшая школа менеджмента Санкт-Петербургского государственного университета. У меня к вам вопрос больше к представителям «Газпрома». Сейчас практически все контракты «Газпрома» они являются долгосрочными, по условию «бери или плати». В перспективе на 10-15 лет сможет ли краткосрочная биржевая торговля спотовым форвардными контрактами заменить долгосрочной?
Ну, если вы говорите, скажем так, в аспекте, смотря как бы что вы имеете в виду под краткосрочной биржевой торговлей, то есть если я как бы вот в презентации своей как бы указал, что есть как бы спотовая, да, торговля, да, и есть инструменты день вперед, неделя, а есть как бы форвардная торговля. Если вы говорите о спотовой торговле, то, конечно, она не сможет полностью заменить. А если говорить о каких-то инструментах, значит, скажем, продажа газа на форвардах, на форвардных продуктах, вперед на квартал, на полгода, на год, то в качестве дополнительного инструмента продажи и дополнительного инструмента монетизации, конечно, это будет возможно. Но учитывая как бы достаточно, скажем, большую величину месторождений и, скажем, достаточно большой срок окупаемости добычных проектов и газотранспортной инфраструктуры, значит, перейти на полностью, как бы, скажем так, на торговлю производными инструментами будет достаточно сложно.
Thank you very much for your answer. So let me provide the word to the expert from NG, David Selfati, and the presentation influence of hubs on the actors of consumers' behavior.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to talk this morning. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to talk this morning. I understand we're a little bit short in time, so I'll try to condense my presentation. And it will be easy in the sense that lots of interesting things have been said this morning already, and I'll be able to pass quickly on them. What I'll try to do for this presentation is to, of course, discuss about hub developments and the impact that it has had on the business in the gas industry. I also try to put it into what I believe is a broader perspective of the role and the right place natural gas can have in the European energy mix. So let's start from this general context. It has been said, notably by Iouri previously, that gas is a great energy. Basically, it has a perfect match with the need for Europe of a greener energy. It's clean, it's highly flexible, cheap to store, so it's perfect match with intermittent renewable production. It's an affordable energy. Just taking a random example, Russia. Russia has huge resources, very cost effective. It's probably one of the cheapest, cost-wise, cheapest energy that can supply Europe's need for energy. So, if we stay to this part of the discussion, this is dream case. Natural gas is the energy of the 21st century. This is before we look into another key consideration for Europe, which is people talk about politics, but let's talk about social acceptability. It encompasses politics, it encompasses lobbying, other energy, coal, for instance, nuclear. All those guys are very good at lobbying in favor of energy. And the fact is that despite the objective qualities of gas, which all experts would acknowledge, gas has, let's say, a key challenge ahead to convince people, to convince final customers and policymakers that it is the energy that is required and the most suited to meet the energy needs of Europe. So long story short, gas is a great energy, it has a great potential, but it faces a big, huge challenge to finally convince its customers. And that's a challenge to all of us, gas people. So now moving closer to the subject relating to hubs and how it goes in this perspective. So that has been said. Gas hub has developed massively over the 10-15 years. We have now reached a point where we believe it has gone too far to go backward. Gas hubs are here to stay. Traded volumes are high, liquidity and price relevance has become good enough. It is now an important, on the physical side, an important role to supply final physical demands. So, from the observation, gas hubs are now the unavoidable framework for the gas industry in Europe. Of course, that comes with questions, and very legitimate questions, such as, is it a good signal for investment? How efficient those marketplaces are? What's the effect of volatility? Does it disturb the price definition mechanisms? Well, those are very interesting questions. By the way, it is applicable for any traded quantity. Same questions apply for stocks, for interest rates, for exchange rates, etc. This is consubstantial, I would say, to the marketplaces. But the sad truth is that these are mostly theoretical questions, and well, if we want to live in the world we are living in, the single most important question is how to adapt to them. In this respect, I would like to highlight an, I would say, property or characteristic of gas hubs. I mean, the role of hubs basically is to reveal price, to reveal the value, and which is somehow fun. And the way they have been developing in Europe is mostly they uncovered a very unpleasant truth. And for gas professionals, hubs have had this, let's say, magical property to just put to your face the ugly truth that we would have all preferred not to see in front. So one example, I'll give a few examples. One example is the value of flexibility, which originally comes from storages, be there in Europe or from the export countries. It comes also from LNG. Here I've just illustrated the value of flexibility, which is highlighted through the hubs. And obviously, hubs uncover the sad truth that the value of flexibility has enormously diminished over the last few years, divided by 3 mostly from 2008 to today. Another, let's say, consequence of the hub development is the value of transportation. We live in a market where there are lots and lots of transportation capacity booked, way too much actually, and where the markets are well supplied, which leads to a situation where the market value of transportation is extremely low. And just to highlight this situation, I've calculated some ratios, which are basically the average spread between the prices in 2 marketplaces, as compared to the transportation cost to physically transport gas from one of those marketplaces to the other. So figures evolve and change over places, but mostly what you can observe is that there are way too much transportation capacity booked in Europe as compared to the volumes, and that's and that the value for it has vanished. So if you hadn't had hubs, you could probably stayed in the bilateral world, and everyone would have had its own vision on the value of that. But now there is an objective and clear signal for assessing this value. This is the reality we have to face. Another consequence, or I would say example, where hubs show the fundamentals of the market is a fundamental shift Europe has faced in the recent years between, I would say, supply risk. Gas industry has developed in, let's say, in a context of ensuring security of supply, assuming that there would not be enough gas for all the consumption. The current, I'm not talking about the long term, but the current gas market is actually more characterized by demand risk. Demand is weak. gas to power has almost vanished from the energy mix. And as soon as there is a surge in gas supply side, prices drop. And this is a fact you could, let's say, hide with oil indexations or other kinds of price mechanism. But this is made clear and transparent through the hubs. So to conclude those few examples, hubs may not reflect, with an extreme precision value of things. You can always argue whether there are some bias, whether there are some irrationality and collective behaviors that modify what the actual true value of things are. But it gives good all those magnitudes and basically put the finger where it hurts. So what kind of impact did that have on the business? On the customer side, I would say the downstream side, things have been extremely quick to adapt. And gas utilities like ENGIE and all the other players in Europe had to evolve extremely rapidly to this new environment. Now final prices are driven by the hub prices. That's worked for both flexibility and the volume, the actual volume of gas. So this part of the industry has evolved extremely rapidly. Things have been much more difficult on the supply side. It was highlighted before. The cornerstone of the gas industry in Europe is the long-term supply contracts between gas producers and large importers like E.ON, like ENGIE, like Eni in Italy. And if you remember the few examples I gave before, all those examples lead to unpleasant and difficult questions to be solved in the frame of those long-term contracts. For instance, those contracts provide some flexibility to customer, and this flexibility has a cost to produce. That's unarguable. Nonetheless, the market value of this flexibility has now decreased. So, what do we do with this flexibility? Do we pay the cost for it? Do we pay the market value for it? I can imagine how intense the debate is on this one. Same thing for the transportation cost. Gas producers generally, and that's probably true for most of the gas producers across Europe, have had a strategy to go close to the markets, to get as close as possible to the markets. And guess what? This turned out to be a very loss-making strategy. Now you have to pay transportation capacity throughout Europe to reach a final market, which basically has the same price as the one which is 1,000 kilometers closer to your production sites. So that's again a fact that needs to be reflected in the long-term contracts and makes things quite complicated. Last but not least, I mean that's a very broad subject. We could have made a whole presentation on this one, but now that Europe is mostly characterized, I would say today and for the short, medium term, is more characterized by demand risk. Gas buyers, which are bound with take-or-pay clause, so the obligation to take gas whenever, and whether or not they have demand for it. This materializes as a huge burden. So this obviously puts some highlight on the kind of debate there have been and are still ongoing between gas producers and gas buyers. And for those who are not familiar with that, I would say since 2009, so it almost started 6 years ago, huge negotiations, I would say permanent renegotiations have been ongoing, sometimes extremely tensed. You may have seen in the press lots of arbitration, which was basically not a practice at all of the gas industry, but has become almost a standard procedure that has created lots of tension between gas producers and gas buyers. And now let's take a step back from that. So the industry has been, deep diving into those questions and arguing on an extremely tensed basis for years. At the end of the day, what are the fundamentals? Gas producers are interested to sell and to sell a lot if possible. No? Gas buyers are interested to sell to their customers to make a margin for it. No? So if you look with, let's say, outside the nitty-gritty of those contractual relationships, no? Interests are still aligned. Gas buyers and gas producers are on the same side. And if you come back to the very first slide I presented about on one side the advantages of gas, and on the other side the challenges to its let's say emergence as a key energy for the 21st century. Politics, lobbying. This is the reality gas buyers have to face, and basically gas buyers in Europe are the best, maybe the only, but the best ambassadors for natural gas. So my point here is that gas producers and gas buyers are natural allies. They should work together. And after more than 6 years arguing about how to adapt to this new market context, it seems to me it is now time to put an end to those discussions, to finalize the transition, and start really working together as partners and as allies in order to make and to enable the bright future of gas it deserves.
Thank you very much, David. Unfortunately, we have no time for the question to David, so I provide the word for the final presentation, let's say the culminating presentation of Konstantin von Oldenburg, VNG company, and Konstantin will try to answer the question: Gas hub a tool or threat to traditional relationship between supplier and buyer? Please.
Работает?
Yes.
Пожалуйста, все встаньте. Alle einmal aufstehen. Alle einmal hoch. Все встаньте, пожалуйста. Здесь слишком много, которые играют с сотовым телефоном или кто-то уже спал. Alle einmal hoch, auch die Deutschen. И садитесь. Спасибо. Я надеюсь, сейчас у меня есть ваше внимание. I will switch to English. 2 words on me. I'm representing Verbundnetzgas, the 3rd biggest gas supplier, gas seller in Germany. I'm responsible for gas purchase from Russia since nearly 12 years for different companies, but mainly my focus is on Russia. We heard a lot today. Allow me to walk a bit because I've been sitting here as long as you did. We heard a lot about hubs already. I want to shorten it really. I got the question, is the gas hubs, are they a tool, an instrument or threat for the traditional relationship? As I already said in the beginning, I'm a lawyer and my answer is it depends what you make out of it, like most of the time in life. We can make out the best or it can go to the worst. Which slide? Sorry, I missed one chart there. We saw a lot of charts about showing what hubs we have today in Europe. TTF, NCG, France, Italy. What no one said here, in the beginning when hubs were introduced, all big companies, and I think I can say that for the producing side and the utilities, refused to accept them. Because hub means transparency. Transparency means, in trade business, less margins. So we all neglected the existence, the importance, everything altogether. Some it took longer, some it took shorter. And it brought us close to what you see on this chart. It's the so-called Innovators Dilemma. If you see the list, or what does it mean? It means if a company sticks to old style, old practice, ignoring what happens in the market, these companies disappear because the business case disappears. There's no model to earn money. If you start from the beginning, sailing ship companies who refuse to build steam ships for whatever reason, because it has never been the case for the last 500 years, they disappeared. If you go to publishing companies, encyclopedias, who said internet, what is internet? It's something military uses. It will never be a competitor. They disappeared. I will now jump the more modern ways you're more familiar with. The iPad and the notebook, the book, and the e-book, and we'll jump to the last example. Our business was close to become a study case for the Innovators Dilemma as well, because we came from oil product indexed long-term contracts, delivered at a flange, delivered at a measuring point. This was the molecule we transferred to the client, and we did not realize for quite a while, and some haven't realized it fully yet, that it's a hub-based pricing required by the clients. And this is a decisive sentence. The clients require hub-based pricing. Why do they do that? If you buy a Mercedes, what do? You go to the Mercedes company you know next door, you go to the neighborhood on the right, you go to the neighborhood on the left, and then today we are very modern, we check in the internet, we take the cheapest price, we go to the guy we know and say, I want this price. And you feel good. Why do you feel good? Because you think you have a competitive, fair price. It can be higher, it can be lower, but it gives you the feeling, I get this, what everybody gets. The neighbor got the Mercedes for the same price as I did. It's transparency, which from the trade point of view is horrible because it's less margin. One step back to good old days. We had the producers, indigenous producers means European producers. We had imports from various countries. They were all mentioned already. We, as a wholesaler, we are classical, old-style wholesaler. We got the gas and we delivered it to the clients. What did we do? We structured the volumes, as already said before. Long-term contracts offer a structure of roughly 7,000 hours per year. The clients request something like 5,000, so we have to cover that gap. Today, and this was shown already, we have the imports, the producers, who can directly go to the hubs, bypassing the traditional sales channels, which I'm the one in the middle, the intermediate, is not always fun. Forget what is written on the top, just look at the picture. If the producer bypasses first the wholesaler, directly goes to the retailer, and later goes to big industry companies, they buy directly at the hub. So they bypass the whole chain in between. In the first moment, you can say as a producer, that's pretty good because I get the margin in between. But what you miss on that side is what was the value proposition, what was the added value by the intermediate. What did all these importing companies, the wholesale companies, do? We did the structuring. Only VNG has a sales department of 50 people. We have an IT you cannot imagine. Let's make it more simple. We have access to 1,200 clients in Germany. If I go now to Gazprom Export, correct me if I'm wrong, you have 7 big clients in Europe, more or less. 7 big companies.
For long-term contracts.
For long-term contracts. For long-term contracts. So what people you need for 6, 7 big contracts, where you know I have a guaranteed volume. These long-term contract partners offered me, I take your volume, whatever happens. If I don't take it, I will pay you a penalty, so-called minimum pay. This is what the producer got, the guarantee for the volume, which was at the same time, the question was raised earlier, or the guarantee to the banks. Because if you invest billions of euros in upstream, in Yamal, or in Siberia, or in infrastructure, you have to finance a project. So minimum 50%, I would say 70% has to come from a bank. Who finances that? If you cannot say, maybe I sell it next year on the hub and the year afterwards, but maybe not, because the demand is not there or LNG was cheaper. This shows the green line is the border price in Germany. Statistically, I refer to you, Vyacheslav, what you said about statistics, lie, special lie, and the lie you made yourself. But this is the official published border price. The red line is the gas pool. That's one of the hubs in Germany, in eastern Germany, middle Germany. If you look at the gap, when the green line was above the red line since the financial crisis in 2008, you can imagine who was happy with the pricing. The one who had an oil price linked contract formula. And this is what was referred to by David to the adaptation of the long-term contract. They had to be adapted to the market because the clients only were willing to offer hub prices because they wanted the Mercedes like the neighbor. Since 2014-15, you can see that the border price came more or less into the range of the hub price. That's all my presentation, not very sophisticated. I come back to my lawyer's education. It depends. It can be a threat for the point of view of the intermediate if the producer believes he can bypass me because there is no added value of structuring, of market development. That means building infrastructure, building storages, running the storages. Then it's a threat. But it can be an instrument, an enhancing tool, if it's taken as a price signal of the market, which from the point of the producer, a price signal he can check himself on the screen every day. It's not something that an agent comes and says, the market is like this. You cannot check that, you just have to believe me. No. And then the next question is, I'm responsible for purchase and portfolio management. Portfolio management means I always check what is the best alternative to buy the gas. Is it the long-term contract? Is it the hub? And if someone offers me, you get the hub price for the long-term contract, that means for the take or pay, I simply say, okay, then I don't want the take or pay. I just buy in the hub the volume I need today, and I don't take an obligation for higher volumes, which I still don't know whether I sell them or not. So this is actually what we have to consider, is coming back to the old idea. You take the volume risk, someone takes the price risks, and the instrument to enhance that, I think, is a quite transparent pricing, is the market price. That's it. I don't ask you to stand up again.
Thank you very much, Konstantin. So we just have a few minutes. Maybe you have a question to these very interesting presentations or to all other experts, please. Two questions.
Ladies first.
And you have a comment, okay.
Well, I have just one question. We all understand here that it must be some kind of a compromise between a gas producer who asks for oil-linked indexation just because banks ask for oil-linked guarantees as well, and between end customers who want hub prices, spot prices, hub prices. Do you think that forward contracts, like 1 year forward contracts, could be such a compromise, at least for some time? That's my question to everyone.
Yes, please. Sebastian.
Well, it might be part of the solution. The big point is you are pointing rightly to the fact that we need some kind of a compromise. But when you talk about a compromise, of course, you need to make sure that finally that is something that is attractive for both parties. So the benchmark for any compromise must be the answer to the question, can both parties live with this and have both parties a possibility to thrive in the market and to still gain a profit? And that's basically at the core of the question. And that's the, let's say, also the core of our discussions, where we try to sort out how can we ensure that both parties still can survive in this business and feel that it is attractive. And looking at forward prices might be one possibility, but it still needs to ensure that a buyer can also gain a profit on this. I mean, look, when you agree, for instance, on having a forward quotation in your purchase contract, and you have to sell based on forward prices to your customers, you essentially gain nothing. You have to entertain the sales force and the IT infrastructure, as Konstantin mentioned, but you have not yet earned a single penny on which you can live. And the big question is, how can we really sort out this issue to find a compromise that is attractive for both parties?
One addition to that, what I was talking about added value. We heard a lot about churn ratios at the hubs. Churn ratio means it's virtual traded volumes without any physical delivery. If I were a producer, I should be interested in a physical delivery, someone who offers me the access to the client, the gas is burned. It's not traded, and banks and financial traders earn money on that. No, you want it to be burned in a house or an industry plant. And then you have to ask someone who can provide that access.
Okay, any other answers, comments on this question? So please, the comment from the...
Прошу прощения, что на русском. Прошу взять наушники, коллег. В действительности я, наверное, единственный, кто здесь представляет реально работающую в России газовую биржу. Санкт-Петербургская международная товарно-сырьевая биржа. У нас проходят торги природным газом на внутреннем рынке. Последние торги с объемами поставки на месяц дали объем 1 200 миллионов кубов. Для России достаточно хороший уже в объем, учитывая, что мы начали торги в ноябре прошлого года, по-моему, с 20 миллионов. В этом месяце мы должны запустить торги с поставкой на сутки вперед. И это тоже будет революцией на внутреннем рынке газа в России, потому что «Газпром» до сих пор таких инструментов не использовал. В принципе. И, в общем-то, вопрос здесь очень важный в чем? Допускают ли производители разность цен? Допускают ли они то или иное свободное ценообразование? «Газпром», и в этом есть существенное различие нашего экспортного рынка и внутреннего рынка. Я говорю о рынке природного газа, потому что по сжиженному газу другая картина. «Газпром» у нас сейчас единственный экспортер. На внутреннем рынке это не так. Есть другие производители газа. И с началом биржевой торговли они оказались допущены на рынок. До этого они вынуждены были, на наш взгляд, по заниженным ценам продавать свой газ «Газпрому». Результат торгов, для понимания. В зависимости от региона цены на ГРС выхода по разным регионам ниже цен ФСТшных, плюс там транспортировка и соответствующие надбавки на 5-14%. Интересно ли это потребителям? Да. Интересно ли это «Газпрому»? Оказывается, тоже да, потому что в некоторых регионах значительную часть покупки газа делают межрегионгазы, как ни странно. Является ли цель наша и то, что вот будет сейчас выполнять биржа на будущий год, это то, чтобы выполнить те нормы, установленные постановлением правительства, и выйти на уровень внутренней биржевой торговли газом в 35 миллиардов кубов. Это будет примерно 20% внутреннего рынка. На наш взгляд, это будет тот уровень, который позволит работать уже с биржевыми индексами на внебиржевом рынке. Вот здесь все там говорилось о Европе, у нас несколько своеобразный путь, но, на мой взгляд, он не менее рыночный. Спасибо.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the comment. So I also stand. I'm sorry, but we have no more time to continue our discussion. I'd like to sum up a little bit and first of all, thank all our experts that they come to and join to our discussion. I know that it's very difficult nowadays to find time to come and to spend with us more than 2 hours. So thank you very much. I also like to thank all the organizers and also the students who actively participate here during the session, ask the questions, and I'd like to underline and agree with Mr. Virobian that this sphere is very interesting, and we'd like young generations to join this sphere, to be more interested in gas hubs, gas exchange trading, and please read more, study, and we, from the universities, we try to help you in this process. And we have prepared presents for our expert, and thanks them again. So girls, please. Mr. von Oldenburg, thank you very much. Mr. Sebastian Groeblighoff, thank you very much. Ross McVey, thanks again. Mr. Virobian, thank you very much. David Salfati, NG, thank you very much. Mr. Kusov, thank you very much. Hélène Rinaldo, thank you very much. And also, thank you very much, my colleague Geert Greving from GasTerra, who works a lot on this section with me, and thank you very much. So, thank you. Thank you very much. So, I think that I hope that you agree with me that our section was very interesting, and I wish you good luck on the international case in the afternoon, and hope to see you soon. Thank you.